All right, guys, welcome back to the table. And on this table, you see this beauty of a handgun, which, if you don't know what it is a Beretta M9A3. Now, this is a gun that I've long coveted, actually, when this was released back in like the 2010-ish area. This was a gun that I immediately said, boy, I would really like to have this. But unfortunately, because it came with a lot of evil features, for example, at that time, the threaded barrel, as you can see right here. Also the large capacity, or I guess you can say regular capacity, 17 round magazines. I think it's 17 or 15, I'm not sure. But unfortunately, that made it illegal in New York State. Now, fast forward to 2019, my local gun guy, who obviously is going to be Wallkill River Small Arms. And again, if you're in the Hudson Valley area, definitely check his shop out. Frank is a great guy to do business with and always fair on his prices. And that's just a little plug for him. Don't get paid for it, by the way. Now, in regards to this gun, when I was telling him I was looking for one of these, he was able to get me one with 10-round standard magazines. So you can see that right here, the 10-round mags. However, he had to actually seal the barrel for the threaded barrel on this. So I can't actually take this off anymore, which kind of sucks. But at least it keeps the original gun the way it should have been in the first place. Now, a couple of things about this gun. So back in about 2010-ish, 11-ish, around there, obviously the Army was out there looking for manufacturers to make a new handgun to bring into service. This was what Beretta wanted to put in. Now, some people have said this was entered in the MHS. As far as I know, this was actually never entered because the Army refused to look at this gun, which is kind of sad. And there's a lot of reasons that I say it's sad, and we'll get into that right now. Now, the Army cited that the fact that the M9 was not necessarily historically a reliable firearm for the military, although that, for many people that I know, say is untrue. It really had to do with the maintenance of the gun. The military decided not to use it, or at least enter it even into the actual program. So obviously we know that the military used, or now is using, the M17, which is a Sig Sauer. I know some people who have some very intimate knowledge about that gun and all of the failures that it's actually suffering from currently. And I think it's kind of ironic that they were worried that this was going to fail, but now the M9A3, which they went towards instead of something like this, or maybe even the Glock 17, or excuse me, 19X, they decided not to use that because of the failure issues, so to speak. Now, when this gun was created, obviously it was declined, so now it went into the more civilian market. People like me who want to be super cool decided to put this in the civilian market. It is sold a little bit. I don't think it ever really got a lot of play, so to speak, because, again, this is kind of one of those niche guns, or niche, however you say it. But I think for me, the reason why I liked a gun like this was just because it was so unique. Again, I don't own many large handguns that are made out of metal. I do have a lot of polymer guns, and I have my compact CZs, but other than that, nothing really out there that I own is in this bracket or this category. So when I approached my gun guy, I asked him, what can you do for me? He found one. It was a great price. I had to trade a couple of things in order to, finish paying it, but it was totally worth it in the end because this gun is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's not even just because it looks awesome. Obviously, you have the FDE slide, the FDE barrel, and the FDE frame. And it's kind of interesting because when you look at it, all FDEs are not created equally, so to speak. And when you look at the PX4 Storm, the compact version here, this is even a different shade of FDE, which is kind of funny. So none of these FDEs actually match. But it's kind of cool because it gives you almost like a three-tone effect on this handgun. The grips are a different color from the frame. Frame's a different color from the barrel. Barrel's a different color from the slide. So, obviously you have some black, items here that kind of add a little bit of, I guess you could say, character. Now, this gun does come standard with night sights, so you can see that they are dovetailed, so you can actually push these out if you choose to change them, which is kind of cool. And the side picture is pretty good. The slide is actually, obviously, the open slide, so it's kind of a nice feature because you're going to reduce the weight of the slide and, as a result, hopefully have a little bit less recoil because you have less slide mass moving back and forth. Again, you see that you have your 1913 Picatinny rail. This is all aluminum here, so it's not steel, but you do have your steel slide and your steel barrel. You also have the beveled cuts in the front, which kind of just add a little bit of unique look to it. And you can do press checks that way if you choose to be cool, like some people. I don't do that, so for me, it's not really an issue. The serrations on the slide, although they're not very deep, they are very, very grippy, and I do like that. And I do like the location of them. So they're not too far back. They're about 3/4 way down the slide, which hopefully will avoid people from accidentally activating that safety. Now, I've put several hundred rounds through this gun. I've never had an issue of doing that. You can see that the safety decock lever here rides pretty high. So in order for you to hit that, you'd really have to be going very high on the slide. But you can see if you grab those serrations, you're not even close to it. So I don't really think that's a problem necessarily. This is a Type F model, so it is safety, and then you have to lift it up in order to get that gun to fire. Now, I plan on actually changing this and converting it into a Type G, so I'm going to do that at some point because I do like the fact that it does have that ability to do that, and it's very similar to the PX4, which I've already done, and I prefer that overall. You do have a slight beaver tail in the back, which I think is a good beaver tail. It is not overly done. So you don't have it jutting out, 17 feet away from the handgun. So it is fairly compact. And you can see that even with that beaver tail, it doesn't really extend too far back. It's just the right amount of length, in my opinion. Also, in regards to the grips, you do have options here. These are the thick Hogue rubber grips. These come actually with the package, as well as 3 magazines, and the magazines have PVD coating on them. So they are supposedly like, sandproof, laser beam proof and all that other stuff. But overall, the magazines are very nice quality, which again, I would expect from Beretta. The trigger is steel, so that is a good thing. So you don't have a polymer trigger here like some of the old 92 FSs, I believe, had some polymer triggers on there. And again, you do have that rail there, which also adds the feature of adding a light if you choose to. The magazine release here is in a good spot. It's not overly done, but it is fairly easy to use. You don't even have to really change your grip. And again, I'm trying to angle in the camera, but unfortunately, I'm kind of at a space issue with my screen here. But as you can see, you shoot the gun, you really just drop your thumb, and the magazine comes out. Magazine release is fairly positive. It's not overly done, so I'll turn the gun sideways. And you can see it does push the magazine out, but it doesn't pop it out. But again, this PVD coating has a little bit of texture on it, so that probably has something to do with it. If you don't like the rubberized grip, you can get the standard grips that come with this as well, which go right over there, and it is a slim piece. So it's kind of nice. But again, it doesn't really provide much texturing, even though, as you can see, let me see if I can get that in there. It does look like it has some really good texturing to it. It is fairly soft, which tends to be the standard for Beretta. Beretta doesn't really do very good texturing, I've noticed, on some of their guns. With the exception, of course, of the APX, I find that to be really done well. Overall, the gun is a beautiful gun. It's a 33-ounce beast, in my opinion, and shooting this was a great experience because it shot very flat. I mean, overall, I think what you're seeing here is probably not going to be ideal for people who want to carry something like this every single day. Although that could change. That could be different for every person that you meet. I don't know if I'm going to carry this often, but I definitely will carry it. You have your lanyard loop down here. And, at this point, standard-wise, there has nothing been done. Nothing at all has been done to this handgun. No new springs, no trigger, no Type G conversion, nothing. So this is a standard handgun. In regards to the trigger is actually fairly smooth. You do have some stacking right about here, and then you get a nice break to it. So there is a little bit of stacking, but overall, the trigger has no real mushiness to it. It is a very, very easy trigger to pull back on. There's not a lot of resistance, and the break is very nice, as I said before. The reset is fairly short. I mean, that's it. That's your reset, and there's a little bit of take up, and then it breaks again. But the single action on this trigger is fantastic. There is not much to complain about in regards to the single action. And even for that matter, the double action is fairly good as well. Now, in regards to what does the double action weigh, in regards to trigger pull, if you really care, most people don't, or some people don't, some people do. But let's see what we get. And right now it's about, for that single pull, 7 pounds, 6.1 ounces. So we'll do it again. 8 pounds, 2.4 ounces, and we'll just do an average between the two pulls. So we have 7 pounds, 12.2 ounces. So almost 8 pounds on the double action, which I think is very good. Again, that's what I get on my CZs, but that's after doing a spring kit job on there. Now let's go to the single action pull. So my first pull is 3 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 ounces. If I could speak, that would be wonderful. Let's do it again. 3 pounds, 3.5 ounces for an average of, 3 pounds, 3.7 ounces. So very nice single action. I mean, it is incredibly crisp. It is incredibly short, and it is actually just really nice, to be honest with you. Again, there's not a lot to complain about this gun. The only thing I did notice about this gun overall was the just the overall, I guess, craftsmanship. And again, this could be when it was transported or not, but even, and I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up, but the rail has a couple of little digs in the metal here. And that's something that I noticed. But overall, it is not bad. I mean, takedown is fairly smooth, fairly easy. Press the button in, rotate the takedown handle, and the slide pops itself off. So I'm not going to take down this whole gun, but if you guys are familiar, here's your guide rod spring and recoil, or your guide rod and recoil spring, your barrel, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit dirty inside because I never cleaned it. Whoopsie. But overall, I mean, just really nice craftsmanship in the slide. Not a lot of milling marks or anything like that. So it looks really good. Very presentable gun. On the aluminum body, again, you can see just really nicely done. It is just a nice, clean looking handgun. The rails, obviously, you can see they're pretty beefy, pretty big, pretty thick, and even on the rear. So, I mean, this gun is built very, very well. And again, that is not something that I would, doubt or even ever consider not having to. Oh, hold on one second. We got to fix that guide rod. That is something that I would say I would be expecting on a gun of this caliber. Again, and again, by the way, you just lock it back and then drop the lever. But it is something that I would expect from this level of a handgun. This is not a cheap gun by any means whatsoever, and it's not going to be for everybody. I mean, this, again, is not necessarily going to be ideal for carry, but at the same time, I think it does, somebody out there like me who's looking for something a little bit different, somebody who wants something that, adds a little bit more to what you have collected in the past. And I think this gun does a great job of that. I think this gun has a lot of cool little features. Again, a nice slim Vertec grip that's fairly straightforward. It's very, very north to south type of grip. Your steel trigger. And again, there's a lot of things you can do with this gun. You can put springs in there if you choose to. I think I'm going to leave it as is in regards to the hammer spring and all that other stuff. But I definitely want to change this out to decock only because I just hate having a safety on a handgun. The night sights are done very well. And again, these are pretty high. I wouldn't necessarily say that these are ideal suppressor height sights because you can see how low that front sight is. And one of the other things that I noticed in regards to the gun overall is that all the controls are just in the right spot. You have your slide release, slide lock, which is just within thumb length. And so when you have that gun and you want to, basically drop the slide, you just touch the button. As a matter of fact, I'll demonstrate. So here you go. Here's your hand on the thing. On the grip, and it drops right down. So, I mean, everything is within reach. The safety levers, they're just in the right spot. Again, great job. I don't know how else to say it, but this gun is fantastic. And, for what you pay, you need to get a fantastic handgun overall. Again, it comes with 3 magazines, all with the PVD coating. These are 10 rounders. Comes with a threaded barrel, so if you have the ability to live freely, you can always get a silencer from the gun, which is kind of cool. And again, it also comes with the slide panels here, or the side panels here, that are very, very thin, very, very flexible. So probably not the best, but at the same time, a pair of G10 grips work. You can always upgrade this as well and use the rubber grip as well. Now, I plan on doing a shooting video as well on this so you guys can see. I will tell you, I didn't have a lot of good footage that day because I just didn't care, to be honest with you, because I just love the way this gun shot. But that's coming in the future. Also coming in the future, I have another Beretta coming, and this is a little bit different. You can see this is a grip panel for Beretta 90-2, which is kind of an interesting gun in itself. So tell me what you think. Do you like the Beretta M9A3? Do you think the Army made a mistake by never even looking at this gun or taking it seriously? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Again, I always appreciate you watching, appreciate your comments down below. Hope you have a great night. Stay safe, and as always, everyone, freedom is never free.